This 2016 6.7 Power Stroke has been slowly dying under a tarp in my backyard for 2 years, and it spent about a year before that in my other house. But I got restationed in North Carolina, back home. I'm very excited to move there. I got to haul this thing up there as well as all my other junk, and this is going to be an exciting video because we're trying to pull this thing with a Ford Excursion on a 20-foot car hauler trailer, and I've got to get my Volkswagen daily driver up there as well, hopefully in one trip. We'll see how it goes. The main thing that has kept me up at night having this project sit out in the backyard for so long with this saran wrap like it's some leftover food is the fuel. Being diesel, the fuel doesn't store that well. It can get, you know, gelled up. It can kind of have some humidity affect it, get water in it. So I've been really worried about that, and I've been putting Hot Shot secret fuel additive in it. I've been draining the fuel some. I've been trying to drive it and put, you know, fresh diesel in it, but I just can't drive it enough to really maintain it properly, because this thing should be driven up to temperature, you know, almost every day, used, and instead it's just sitting here. So before I drive it anymore, I have really been digging, trying to figure out what I can do to, you know, give myself some comfort here for the CP4 pump that I'm concerned about failing. It's a pretty common thing for these 6.7 Power Strokes. Any water in the fuel, or sometimes just over time, the CP4 pump can grenade and just take out the whole fuel system. So before I replace that or do a prevention kit, it's a real simple thing I'm going to do to help is add an AirDog lift pump. So I just picked this thing up from AirDog. You can see this is their newer model. I'm about to unscrew that. This is just in place for packaging there, but there's the AirDog lift pump that's going to go right underneath here. I'm not going to try to crawl under there with this in my hand, but that's going to replace the factory little frame mounted filter setup down there, and it will force some fresh fuel in this thing, making sure there's no air or water in it, and give me a little bit of peace of mind that my pump will last until I can dive into this thing, because I'm going to do some motor work to it, and that's when I want to put a disaster prevention kit on it with some extra filters at the engine and some bypass hoses and all that. But to get down in there to the CP4, if I were to replace it or put a spacer on it for the filter, I got to remove all this junk, all this plastic stuff under here. Most of it is in the way because the pump is down here in the middle, more or less. So when I go to put my fancy piping kit and my new turbo and all that stuff on here, that's when I'm going to do that. So I'm going to dig into this AirDog and see if we can get this thing going down the road without having any problem. Last night I stayed up after the kids went to bed, and I put this AirDog lift pump on, so I'm going to show you all that real quick. I haven't started it yet, but I did do a leak check and didn't have any issues, so feeling pretty good about it. But there's the pump right there. Looks really clean. I'm excited about how it doesn't show really at all. It doesn't hang down, because when I do the body swap, I'm going to have my cab end here, so this is going to be cut off and it'll show the frame a little bit more. So I'm excited there's not a giant, you know, filter setup right here. It's very subtle and isn't going to take away from the classic look. So without delay, I'm going to go ahead and start her up, see how it goes. I'll keep the camera rolling too, see if we can get lucky here. You can hear the pump running, and then glow plug should already be good. I've got a little bit of a wet belt going on right now. This thing's been sitting some. We'll get this out of the way. I'm gonna drive it into the backyard. But yeah, she's running. No worries. So with the 2016 Power Stroke running smoothly on some clean fuel, the next thing I want to address is the tow vehicle here. My family hauler Excursion has got about 170,000 miles on it with the V10, and I've already towed my 2 bump side crew cabs up north with no problems. But I did hit the bump stops one time, and that led me to look down there and see that the bump stops were almost completely gone. So check them out. Here's a look at the factory bump stop with about 170,000 miles on this Excursion, and here's the ones I went with. It's a slightly different design. It has a bolt and a nut instead of just a fixed nut, and I think these stripped out and spawn pretty often. So I think this is overall an upgrade in how it mounts, as well as the material being a urethane instead of a foam. And you can see I've already got one in right there above the lift block spot right there. You can see it. So I think that'll be a big improvement. This thing was definitely hitting the bump stops on the last haul, so see how this goes. Just swapped out one of the front bump stops. You can see there's nothing left to this one, and no wonder this thing bottomed out and felt pretty rough. You can see what it's supposed to look like there. Quite a bit of material there. And these excursions sit really low, and they also tend to sag over time. You can see I've got almost no clearance in between the bump stop and the axle, so it'll either be pretty comfortable because it's riding on that, or it'll just deteriorate again and then end up like this. So we'll see how long this replacement part will last. Hopefully it'll be a lot more comfortable though, and better for the suspension. Definitely a noticeable difference with at least the front ones being so close to the axle. The way these things kind of sag over time, I feel a lot more of like a cush feeling now, instead of it, you know, just feeling like it's floating around in space and then ultimately metal to metal. So that's feeling good. The next thing I want to do for the excursion is install a trailer brake controller, because I haven't had any control over my trailer brakes. So no trailer brakes on the last 2 trips, fully relying on this thing's 2002 brakes, which I did put new calipers on the front, but still old technology, not very good. So I did just get a new brake controller, came in from Red Arc. I'll be installing that. But just to give y'all the full story, I want to show y'all what I'm doing today is actually getting my wife's 4Runner ready to sell. She's going to be driving the excursion after we move, and I just want to let y'all know kind of my process here. This has been the mom mobile, and it has been momicked up. This thing has got all kinds of Cheez-Its and goldfish and everything all over the place. This is our extra car seat I just threw in. It's not very secure, but we have the other ones in the excursion. But you can see all the sand and teddy bears and all kinds of crumbs that are in there. And then in the back here is a couple things I want to tidy up, like the squeaky hatch. It's not that bad right now, but sometimes it squeals really loud, so I'm gonna put a little fluid film on that, get that ready. The reason we're selling this rig is with 2 kids. You can see that fills up the whole back seat, and then the stroller in the back. This is only set up for 1 kid right now. We've pretty much taken up all the room in here. You can get a little bit of groceries in, but that's about it. Whereas the excursion, you got a lot more room. Even, you know, back here I got my beach stuff. I can also fold down this 3rd row or put stuff in it. We just got so much room for activities in here. So she's gonna enjoy driving that for a little bit. It's also my tow vehicle. She ultimately wants a newer, like, suburban type vehicle. So we're gonna work our way up there, buying and selling, trying to pay cash for everything. That's what we've been doing for a few years now, loving it. So I'm gonna get to work on cleaning this thing out, cleaning it up, getting it posted on Facebook Marketplace. So I'll share a little bit of that process with you and try to keep you updated. After the initial sweep of going through everything under the seats and back here, here's my bag of potentially good things. Kids' clothes, baby dolls, earrings, my wife's credit card that she lost 6 months ago, and kids' play phone, books, all that stuff. So that's the good stuff. And also these things here. And I got the mats out here in the sun. I'm about to vacuum all that. And here's our bag of trash, which includes half a small fry from French fries, or half a small fry from McDonald's, water bottles, granola bars. I'm gonna dump it all in the trash and show you. And underneath this passenger seat, there's a smell of Bourbon Street in New Orleans. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Not sure which one of these old food items that was, but glad to get that going. So let's go dump it out, see what all falls out of here. All right, we'll try to gracefully do this so you can see all the nastiness. Yep. I missed a few things. The lollipop, if anybody's interested in that, comes with the car. Nope, all right, that's gone. So yeah, pretty gross, but you know, my wife's usually carrying the kid and just leaves everything for me to clean up, and I've left everything until I got around to selling it. And as you can see, it's pretty hot out here. Got my Nitto sombrero sun visor hat thingy on. I'm sweating, but been waiting a while to clean this thing up because I knew we were selling it, but it is nasty. So gonna do a deep clean, vacuum it out real good, armor all everything, and throw her on the interwebs and hope for the best. From what I've seen and showed y'all, probably wouldn't expect much, but it is a Toyota, so they're all overpriced. It's 2-wheel drive with 210,000 miles, so y'all go ahead and drop a comment, guess how much this rig is worth. It's got the 4.0 V6 and ridge grapplers, which add about 5 grand to it, I'm sure. So Y'all let me know what you think. I just flipped this seat up and found the mother load of Captain Crunch, animal crackers, and granola bars. Even got a pet rock, some jewelry, all kinds of goodies. Thankfully, there have been no bugs in this car somehow with all this food everywhere, but it's all dry stuff. I'm gonna suck it up real quick with the vacuum and get back to cleaning this thing. Checking back in on the 4Runner, getting it ready to be sold, and I'm on my third shirt of the day. My wife said my first shirt was too nice because it was from a specific surf event, so she wanted me to mess it up. Then I put on a work shirt, sweat through that, and then she sent me to go pick up these chairs off of Facebook Marketplace because she thought they looked cool. They were $100. I got there, talked to them, they ended up selling them to me for $20 for both, so $10 a piece. They don't exactly match, but they're super old as far as we can tell, and really sturdy, and she's excited about them. So anyway, I'm gonna get back out here. My shirt now matches my sunburn, so that's exciting, but we're gonna get this thing cleaned up. I also expected to wash it before I took pictures, but I realized it's pretty clean actually for pictures, so I'm not. But it does have a little mud on the tires and everything, so I'm gonna do some tire shine and do some WeatherTech cleanup here with this Zephyr Polishes Pro 39. It's basically tire shine and good for plastic trim, armor all type stuff. So I'm gonna do that, do a little before and after for y'all because they're pretty gross, and I'll get this thing up on the Facebook Marketplace. Got the WeatherTechs looking good after a quick wipe down. I'm going to do a couple little trim pieces like this, and maybe even this mat below here, and then throw those back in, do the tires, get some pictures. We're getting the good lighting here at the evening. See, I got my box fan. It was blowing on me a second ago. It is too hot here in Florida. I'm excited to get up to North Carolina where I'm from. So I think the old 4Runner cleaned up pretty decently. A little bit of shiny spray goes a long way. It does have some nice tint on it, some ceramic tint that I paid to have professionally installed because I thought we were going to keep it for longer. That makes it look a little better. The silver hides dirt really well, keeps it clean. You know, all the lights work and everything. She's got her blemishes, but I think she'll sell pretty easily, fingers crossed. So y'all, like I said, comment, let me know how much you think I'm going to get for this thing. I'm going to post it up, and I will try to keep you posted either at the end of this video or in the next one on how much I made off of this thing, or if I lost money after selling it. So there she is, all cleaned up. I've had her for 3 or 4 years now maybe, and it's really been a good car. I haven't done anything to it but put gas in it and changed the oil. I've literally not had to work on this thing except maybe light bulb or a couple electrical things, but nothing that left me stranded. It's been a very reliable car, as they say about these things. So let's get on to the next thing. We'll see what happens. Now that we've got the 4Runner listed on Facebook Marketplace, my next step in the moving process and getting this excursion ready to tow is a trailer brake. So I just got my Tow Pro Liberty in from Red Arc, and I'm pretty excited about this. It was on the cheaper side, around 150 bucks or so. Here's the actual unit, and this is going to mount underneath the dash here, which I already pulled the panel down. This panel is just 4 flatheads too that twist, super easy. So this is basically going to go under here. And one thing that's cool about this thing is it doesn't need to be mounted a certain way. As long as it's like hard mounted and not just swinging around, it knows which way is up, left and right, and when you hit the brakes it senses that and applies the trailer brakes. So it seemed like a really simple unit, and because I want to resell this vehicle, I did not want to be drilling holes in it. I plan on not having a trailer brake on it when I sell it, just so it doesn't seem like it's been worked its whole life. I'm not trying to be schemy. This is only towed 4 times now, and they've all been me. In 20 years, the guy had never even installed a hitch in the receiver when I bought it. But I'm going to install this thing. It has a knob. I'll show you that over here. Sorry, my garage is a mess. I'm moving. That's all part of the process. But it has this little knob that you can adjust the sensitivity, basically, to how much the brakes help. And that goes through that plug and this cord, and then there's a cord that's specific to the excursion that will plug in under the dash there, and is supposed to talk to the factory Ford trailer brake kit, or excuse me, the tow package. So the tow package, where it has the plug-ins for the trailer, it's supposed to be wired into this plug under the dash, it all matches up with the video I watched, so I'll give y'all an update, see if that actually worked. But excited to do that. Pretty simple, plug it all in, and normally you would drill a hole and mount that little switch, but I'm just gonna have it where I can manipulate it by hand and it just kind of be floating around, because I don't want to put any holes into this thing. It is a pretty clean rig. I'm trying to get top dollar for when I do sell it. I've been driving it on the beach a bit and getting it sandy, but seats are in really good shape. It is a limited, it's only a V10, but in really good condition. And the middle seats aren't getting any miles on them right now because I got different seats in it. So a little bit of buff here and there on the paint, but so I want to make it as clean as possible when I resell it. So I'm taking note of, you know, modifications that I do that people might not like. Another thing I want to do is put some clear new OEM headlight housings that aren't foggy, maybe clean those up, we'll see. And then I do have another grill for it that I actually got off my buddy to replace that one there. So here's a look at that. I'm gonna slap that in there too. So just part of the process. I'm using this thing as a tool to tow my stuff and haul my family, and then I hope it makes me some money. That's kind of the way I've been doing things now until I finish my project. None of these vehicles really mean much to me because I have my heart set on a certain truck that I've got to put together. It's in pieces. So we're going to tow it up and get back to work on it. I'll let you know how this trailer brake goes. All right, y'all, as you can tell, only got one rig in the driveway now. Sold my wife's 4Runner. It's been about a week since I posted it up. I had somebody offer me full price. The very first person that came looked at it wanted it, so very thankful for that. I think I talked a little bit about what those 4Runners are worth and Toyotas in general. It's got 217,000 miles, two-wheel drive, but really clean, and I did shine it up really nicely. Took good pictures of it, the usual deal for Facebook Marketplace, and I got $11,000 for it. Let me know what you guys thought it was worth. I think I had you comment below actually, so reply to your own comment. Tell me if I was over and under what you were expecting there. So pretty excited to have gotten 11 grand for it. I paid about $8,500 for it like 3 years ago maybe. So with, you know, the way the market's been lately, nothing too crazy. You would expect it to be worth maybe a little bit more just because car prices have been insane. But we did put a ton of miles on it. I think like 20,000 miles. Which isn't, you know, that crazy, 10,000 miles a year, but we drove the heck out of it from Alabama to North Carolina to Florida and back, you know, making that triangle loop as we were moving here, and always had family in North Carolina. So with that, next step for the trip up to North Carolina, towing my project truck, is to change the oil in the Excursion. Just picked up some Ford Motorcraft oil just because it makes me feel warm and fuzzy to put Ford oil in a Ford truck. I also got a Ford filter. And then the other thing tonight, I'm going to be changing the oil in the daily driver, which is the Volkswagen TDI. So we'll talk a little bit more about that real quick. But real quick, I forgot to mention, I have done an ops check of my trailer brake controller. You can see I have it dangling here because I didn't want to drill a hole in anything. And you might be able to see a little bit of red if I get in the right angle. You can't really see it, but there's the red arc is zip tied underneath there to a metal frame here. And I did ops check it with a pretty light trailer, just a set of tires on it, and pushed the manual override and it dragged the brakes. With the trailer brake turned up to 10 and on a dirt road here, if I push the manual override, you can probably see I'm digging the trench back there behind me. And we have trailer brakes, boys and girls. So everything seems to be working good there. I'll put the actual truck on there, make sure that this thing has enough stopping power with that for that F-250 diesel. It's a heavy rig, and this thing's got old brakes, you know, had 16-inch wheels from the factory, so tiny little rotors, and like I mentioned before, new calipers, new bump stops. This thing's, you know, gonna be about as good as it can get with the trailer brake controller. Maybe some helper bags would be nice, but let's go check out my daily driver and we'll get to changing some oil. So again, this is my diesel Volkswagen. It's actually my buddy's car, to make this a long story. A really good buddy of mine who's also a co-worker. We're both in the Coast Guard as helicopter mechanics, and he is stationed up in Alaska right now. And instead of selling this thing or parking it and letting it sit for 4 years, because he was really excited to get this manual diesel that gets 45 miles to the gallon, straight piped and everything, he wants to keep it. I wanted to buy it from him while he got stationed up there, because, you know, I know people getting stationed somewhere else far away, sometimes they'll sell their stuff cheap. I've always wanted You know, either this or my Toyota pickup that I used to drive to work, which was manual with the 22 RE 4-cylinder. Two great old cheap daily drivers that are pretty sought after. So I talked him into letting me borrow this thing, drive it, put miles on it, make sure it didn't sit and rot, and he's let me do that. So I put about 500 miles a week on it for a few months, and now I'm going to be taking it with me to North Carolina, but it's not going to work out my plan of potentially doing a double tow, of having this thing behind the trailer with the truck on the trailer. I'm not going to go that route anymore. I was tempted to put a hitch on the back of the trailer and then just do a little U-Haul trailer thing in the front and make it in one trip, but instead I'm going to park this at another buddy's house, and then I'm going to fly down here and get it, drive it up in a few weeks or so after we get settled up there. So to do that, I want to change the oil because it's about an 8-hour drive from here in Florida to my new house, which I just closed on today. Pretty excited about that. And I haven't even seen it in person yet, so a lot of money spent there. But we're going to get this thing ready for its road trip, then park it. I'll come back here and get it, and then I'll keep y'all updated on the trip after that. I changed out into some working clothes so my old lady doesn't get mad at me. And I wanted to mention that I'm putting AMSOIL in this because the owner of it is an AMSOIL dealer, and that's what he wants me to use. I want to know what oil you put in your rig. Like I said, I got Ford oil going in my Excursion. I also put Ford Motorcraft oil in my F-250. I've used Schaefer's. I've tried, you know, all the regular big brands you could think of. And where do you guys buy your oil from? I'd like to know. I know Walmart sometimes has some deals. I go to O'Reilly's a lot because I just like the people there usually. But I'd like to know what oil you use and where you get it from. Let me know in the comments. So my buddy's already told me he has some headlight housings in mind for this thing, but please help me understand how this light is out and this one that has a giant hole in it is still working. I don't know why this light went out like shortly after that one busted from a rock chip, but doesn't make much sense. But this thing is a little tractor. I really enjoy it. It's a 5-speed. I think it's really funny if you haven't driven one of these to put it in reverse. That's first right there, but reverse you actually push it down and then it goes farther to the left. Thought that was pretty interesting. There's first again and reverse. If I didn't know that you had to push it down, I probably would have never figured that out on my own. I would have thought it was broken. So German stuff, super weird. Alright, this thing does have heated seats, which I thought was funny because it's super basic other than that. 218,000 miles. We're rolling. The brakes are super wet and rusty from all the rain. It's beeping at me about something. Oh, I don't have my seatbelt on. We're gonna flip a UE real quick. Oh, it's telling me I have the brake on. I definitely already released the brake, but I guess I didn't fully release it. Yeah, this little rig's front wheel drive, the sideways 4-cylinder diesel. I think it's a 1.9 liter. So I got a diesel car and then a gas Excursion. That's backwards. We got the oil changed in both the rigs, no sweat. And one cosmetic thing I wanted to do real quick before the trip is get rid of this pawpaw grill guard thing that I got going on here. Definitely makes it look like I'm driving my grandfather's truck or something. Does not look like my style at all. And what I'm going to do with this is actually replace the entire grill. The grill is a little bit faded and has some scratches from the hood coming in contact with it. It's actually pretty solid. I'm going to sell it, but shout out to my buddy Tyler. He hooked me up with this one that he picked up back when he had a 6.0 Power Stroke. I think it was just kind of laying around. Somebody he knew had it, and I think he might have paid like 40 bucks for it, and he gave it to me on a partial trade for a set of tires that I haven't heard back from Nitto yet, so I may end up having to give him 40 bucks. Either way, I'm gonna throw it on real quick. Should be an easy install. I think it's a couple Phillips heads on the top and then just some clips down at the bottom you got to poke with like a long screwdriver. So I'll do that. Should make it look a little better, so when I roll into North Carolina I don't look like I borrowed somebody's, you know, old man truck. But other than that, we're pretty much set. I do cosmetically want to put new headlights in this thing so they're not all fogged up, and I have a dent in the bumper that I want to try to get knocked out, or maybe put a different bumper on it. We'll see. Let me know what y'all think though for this thing being a V10. I wouldn't mind lifting it and putting like 35s on it and maybe a ranch hand or something. But I ultimately do want to sell it, so just let me know if y'all think it would sell better stock or maybe with a little bit of lift. Personally, I think it's about 50-50. A lot of people like these and do the same thing. They pull their boats with them and stuff, so I don't know. But let's get that thing on there and we'll see what we can get into after that. This one's already got clips on it, so that's convenient. I don't have to swap them over. Yeah, that didn't take but 2 minutes, even with me talking about it. I'll wipe that thing down a little bit, but looks a lot cleaner. I don't mind the F250 look. I was going to put an excursion grill back on here, which has like the mesh kind of similar to that, but it's square. But this looks good. It looks like an F250 from the front. Nothing wrong with that. It's the same body style, same bumper and everything. So definitely going to be cleaning this thing up before I try to sell it. But she does run really good. She's clean underneath, clean inside and out. Just has some scratches and stuff I want to buff, but overall been really pleased with this thing, and I'm excited to get rid of this crazy looking train conductor pawpaw setup here. Got Bluetooth and air conditioner works.
The air conditioning works?
Yeah, you want to feel it? How much is there and in the back?
Hold on 1 second.
Now, when we get over here, Mikey can just set it on the bumper or whatever. I know it's way up there, but however we got it set. Yeah, that'll work. Change the reposition.
1 second. Hold on.
Sorry about that. Gonna have to be all the way up there. On the back side. Oh, there you go. Like a glove. That's what's nice about it. Oh, are you good? All right, we successfully flew in to Norfolk, Virginia. It's about an hour from where we're going to be living. I've got a backpack full of snacks for the kid and a car seat on my back and my 2-year-old right here. And we're going to go find my wife's new car. She does not know that it's hers. She thinks that we rented an Escalade. So I'm going to go try to find it. Hopefully no one stole it because my brother left the keys in it. But I think I see it maybe up here on the end, so we'll go check it out, get a sneak peek before my wife sees it, and hopefully catch her reaction. So I'm very thankful that we're not doing this yesterday like we were supposed to during the hurricane. Say hi.
Cheese.